So, where did this concept, this thought of is that a man come from? Good question, glad you asked. Before I became the senior pastor of Now Church, one of the things that I did for 16 years of being involved in ministry, I worked with men. I was a men's pastor. And so one of the things that happened, I counseled a lot of men, met with a lot of men, and I had this gentleman, he called me one day and he was on his way to North Carolina A&T senior year, and he was involved in some type of program, and one of the prerequisites to attend the program was you had to wear a tie. And so he got in the car and he told me, he said, Pastor Nate, I looked in the rearview mirror and I started to cry. He said, I turned around as soon as I could, came back, called you, said, Pastor Nate, I need to meet with you. It was urgent. And I asked him what happened. And he was saying that when he looked in the mirror, and he looked in the rearview mirror, and because one of the prerequisites of being in the program was to wear a tie, he said he equated him not knowing how to tie a tie without his father, with his father not really being active in his life. So he said when he looked in that rearview mirror, saw his tie wasn't tied, and he couldn't even pull over and tie one, he said he realized that his father really hadn't been active in his life. And he said, you know what I mean? And I said, go further, explain to me, what are you talking about? He says, well, you know how your dad takes you and he teaches you how to tie a tie. And I said, you know, I get what you're saying, but my dad didn't teach me how to tie a tie. And he said, really? I said, no, my dad didn't teach me how to tie. He said, who did? I said, my mother got a Black Enterprise magazine together one day, and they had a little chart of how to tie a tie, and I got in the mirror and I did it a couple times and I learned how to do it. He said, well, Pastor Nate, you know those things that your dad teaches you how to do? I was like what? He said, how to throw a ball, or how to shave, or how to change a tire. And I said, some of those things my dad taught me how to do, and some of those I learned on my own, or some of those my mother taught me how to do. You know, my dad worked a lot. My dad was home every night, but he was a hard worker, took care of our household, made sure that we were always provided for. And so then I realized sometimes if you don't grow up in a two-parent household, you can automatically think you're missing out on an experience that doesn't usually go on. And you can kind of think, man, I got neglected of that, or I got left out of that. You know, I don't remember, you know, me and my brothers all played high school basketball. Two of us played college sports, but I don't remember my dad saying, hey, son, let's go outside, toss around the pigskin. Or, hey, son, let's go outside and let me rebound with you. No, I played with my friends. And so I realized that sometimes you or people or just men who didn't grow up with a father can think that there was an experience that took place and it really wasn't. And then number two, I was dealing with this gentleman one time, again as a men's pastor, and he was saying that, you know, he was marrying this woman that he loves, but she has a son from a previous relationship. But she doesn't really like the way he treats her son. I said, what are you doing? He says, you know, Pastor Nate, I'm making him tough. I said, okay, you're making him tough by doing what? He said, you know, he may walk by and I might just kind of punch him in the chest or push him. I said, okay. Or if he falls, I might tell him to get up and you know, be tough. He said, that's what you do to your boys, don't you? I said, no, I don't punch my sons. I don't trip my sons. If my baby boy, if he falls down and he's crying, I'm gonna pick him up and I'm gonna hug him. You know, we always tell each other we love them. And I don't feel like because I'm showing them that attention that I'm making them soft. And he says, man, I said, where did you come up with that concept to, you know, kind of punch him or kind of trip him? He said, well, that's what my uncles did to me. So I thought that was making him a man. And I started to realize if their fathers, 70% of African-American men didn't grow up with fathers in the household. So I started to think about it, just pray about that if 70% the African-American men did not grow up with a father in their household. And now again, I'm not saying that if you didn't grow up in a two-parent household like Pastor Nate, that your life was just terrible. I'm not saying that at all. But I'm left to wonder how many men are left to figure out on their own, is that a man? Punching your kid, is that a man? Throwing a baseball, is that a man? That you can work on a car, is that a man? that you can change your oil. Is that a man? And so I thought, man, can we all just come together and not have a clear-cut picture of this and this and this, but just come up with some common ground and have some dialect and have some conversations with men from all different types of generations and men from all different types of home experiences, whether it was single parent or whether it was two-parent households. And maybe we talk and help some people out to define, is that a man? Is that what a man is? I came up with this list of 25 things that I would like my son to know before my sons, I have 3, that I would like my sons to know, hey, before they leave the household. But we're gonna have some dialogue about, is that a man? What was your experience growing up in a single parent household? What was your experience of growing up in a two-parent household? If you didn't grow up with your dad, how did you learn how to be a man? Was there an uncle? Was there a mentor? Was it people in your neighborhoods? Where did you learn those concepts? Where did you learn those truths? Where did you learn those practices? And we're gonna come together and we're gonna have some men and we're gonna do some segments and we're gonna discuss, is that a man?